Good morning. I'd like to call the December 6th, 2022 bid board meeting to order. We have acknowledgement of a quorum. First item on the agenda is approval of the regular meeting of November 1st minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second item, the approval of minutes from the November 15th, 2022 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 1, financial report. Jess.
Great. In November, we had a few encumbrances added. So you'll see in the marketing line are the two items that you approved in the last meeting for the ice sculpture sponsorship and the movie sponsorship with The Bend. The Bend movies, two showings took place on the Sunday of the Christmas parade, and there was a total of 480 pre-reserved seats, and approximately 300 that came out to see the movies. So overall, positive experience. The Bend was pleased with the turnout, and it was really positive. So thank you for sponsoring that event. The sponsorship for the ice sculpture is underway. I did select a snowflake. I worked to try to get something that was more downtown related or a cutout or something like that, but it was going to get pretty pricey. So went with something a little more winter themed for the winter warm-up event.
Can I ask a question on that?
Mm-hmm.
Last meeting when I mentioned it, I was cool to the idea. My only concern was we would be taking away a spot from a business who wanted to sponsor. Do you know if we did?
No, I haven't heard that.
So if somebody wanted that spot, because they're only doing
means.
so many,
Sure.
I'm guessing. God, if we don't have if we're not competing with a business, then obviously it makes sense to do that. And I just kind of wanted to set the record straight on my.
They'll take as many as they can get.
I don't know if they only have a limitation. I didn't get that. So, but thanks for
Sure.
putting up with my explanation.
Well, and the only comment I'd make about the movies is for a third year in a row now, as we were promised, there was going to be something on the marquee, and it wasn't. And also, I think for next year we need to look at, in the previous years there was 4 showings, this year there was 2. So I think it was a positive thing, but I also believe that I kind of question it, to be quite frank, based on the promotion that we're getting out of it.
Maybe some kind of firmer commitment next year makes a little bit more sense.
Yes.
There's nothing in writing, right? It's just a handshake. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
Anything
you're fine.
else?
That's pretty much everything of note. The $9,000 in there is for the installation of holiday decorations. That's what you approved up to. I don't believe it will actually get up to $9,000 for David J. Frank, but I haven't yet received that invoice. That's all.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We haven't had a motion yet.
Oh, motion to approve.
I'll second.
I heard motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the financial report? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jess, you want to give us an update on the historic district?
I'd be happy to. I'm pleased to share that the State Historic Preservation Review Board approved our district, and it is officially a historic district, and it will now go on to the national level for consideration to being on that register. So Jay Shambo and I went to their meeting on November 18th in Madison to support the project, and really excited that it's complete. And our communications department has begun researching different ways to create virtual tours, a historic commercial district tour, other types of options to present to you in an upcoming meeting. But we've looked at other cities that have put up maybe plaques that say historic building number 32 or something on the ground. So there's lots of different options for really bringing it to life and celebrating it.
Maybe with the redo of Main Street, we could do like the Walk of Fame and the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah. So like right now is an ideal time to be thinking about
Exactly. We could
tying
stamp
those
them in
together.
there.
You just want your name in concrete.
My building isn't one of the buildings.
One of two.
Tried so hard, but couldn't do it.
So thank you for your patience with that project. It was a long one, but it was worth it. So.
Any other questions? The question I'd have is, I think, that's all great. I think we need to somehow get the information out immediately, if not sooner, on how people can get use of the tax credits, what the process is, so that they can really get the benefit from the building perspective with that. So I think we should get something out. I don't know if there's a form or there's an online process people have to go through to do that.
Each of the buildings were sent a letter by the city, and in that letter there's a link to 2 different websites that will give them information on how to apply.
I didn't get a letter either.
I'm not sure.
Either.
I know I've talked to a few people who did get a letter. I mean, it was
I think it was in advance of the meeting, and that was actually sent out by the State Historic Preservation Office.
Yeah.
And so if you didn't get it, we can send out a mailing. I think we're waiting to get some official paperwork back from them. But there's also an individual that works for the State Department who maybe we could have come and talk about the tax credit program as well.
I think that would be good, especially since the last meeting we had somebody telling people how hard it was to get the tax credits.
Federal.
Yeah, we need to kind of squash that. Any other comments? Okay, number 3, parking ordinance. Went to council last night. It was tabled. And the alderman felt that, and somebody else can jump in here that was at the meeting if I'm misspeaking because I was there, that they got it. One of the comments is they didn't have enough time to research it and get their constituents to give them information, and there was only 2 people that came to the meeting last night, 1 for, 1 against, and they wanted more time to find out if people really wanted it or didn't want it. And so I would encourage everybody to call their alderman and talk to them, or call all the aldermen if they want, and talk to them about their concerns, good, bad, or indifferent, and also to show up at the meeting on, I don't know the date, 2 weeks.
The 19th.
Okay. Jess, do you want to add anything to that? You guys obviously were there.
When Chief is here too, if there's questions.
Oh, sorry.
But he did a presentation. Sounds like maybe some of the aldermen received some calls with concerns about the ordinance, but not necessarily calls of support. So if you do have support for it, I think that is what they're looking for, even though that maybe it was offered at the last meeting. So some of the aldermen hadn't had a chance to watch the special meeting from November and are encouraged to do so. And I'll be sending out a message after this meeting to our constituents in the downtown to encourage them to do so.
Jay, do you want to?
I'll just share process-wise. So the motion was to postpone it to the December 19th meeting. The alderman heard from a couple of people over the weekend, is our understanding, and those individuals were maybe not so positive regarding the ordinance. And that's really common with policies that go before bodies such as yourself, that the negative stuff comes out and you don't really hear of the positive because people just are going through life and assuming that everybody knows that you're supportive of it if you're supportive of it. That's not the case. And it's a good reminder of that need for positive reinforcement. So Mike's request, Jess's note following this meeting will certainly be a plea to all of the individuals that were in attendance at the last month's meeting. We're really positive about the ordinance, and you folks were unanimous with your vote to move forward with a consensus vote to move forward with a letter of support to the council. I would encourage you all to individually reach out as well to your alderman. Obviously, you have one amongst your midst. Mr. Berquist is here as well as an alderman, hearing some feedback. But that's really the piece that's typically missing in most boards and commissions and city councils, that the vote of positivity is definitely not heard, and it's unfortunate, but this is just a good reminder to all of our business owners out there to reach out, The frustrated individuals with the current parking situation should reach out to the mayor and aldermen, and should do so early and often. And I'm fairly confident that the action on the 19th will just be a couple of week pause on the proposed ordinance. And the real timeline push is to modify behavior in our downtown before the reconstruction of Main Street. That'll be a critical time to have that done. So the ordinance is certainly not perfect, and it doesn't mean that it will never be modified again. There was some question last night during the discussion. It was a very long conversation with the police chief and staff and the aldermen regarding, specific lots and roads, and the ordinance, as we discussed here a month ago, will be modified in the future. The BMO parking lot, for example, is under construction and will be throughout 2023. So at the conclusion of 2023, at minimum, there will be a proposed modification to that ordinance to include that lot as part of the parking plan. And other things will change in the next few years, and we'll modify the ordinance. It shouldn't be something that just sits on the books for a 20-year period of time like maybe the last one did. So I can answer any questions. Chief has way more detail on process and procedure from his department's perspective as to enforce the proposed ordinance. But I just wanted to share with the group the process of why, in my opinion, the aldermen chose to postpone it for 2 weeks and really encourage individuals to reach out to them. They hear from very few of you most of the time. And especially for something positive, because it's way harder to call and say, I like this, please do it, than it is to complain about something. That's just human nature.
Can you repeat the date of the meeting and the start time?
Yep, December 19th, Monday, December 19th at 6:25 p.m.
Not 6:30, 6:25.
Thank you.
I noticed in the Daily News after the last meeting that there were just a couple of not articles, but people I think writing into the editorial or whatever, and they weren't understanding what it was doing, because their attitude was kind of like, if they don't want us to park down there, then we can go shopping elsewhere. And it was like they're not understanding what the proposal is for, I think. Or you hear half a story and then you just go off, I've been in a few stores in downtown and I have heard some negative things, and I'm like, but then you have all these people that can actually park in front of your store and not have it be full from an employee. So there are some businesses downtown where the ordinance is only going to go till 5 o'clock. So I don't know if it's going to be checked after 3:30. And you have restaurants and bars where, people come to work at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I don't know. But by then you'd hope that, I guess, the majority of the workday for others is done. But I don't think that those people understood what the ordinance really was doing.
Well, I think it came kind of fast as part of the problem. So there wasn't a lot of time to do a lot of outreach and communication. So I guess the point is, people, call your elder people, call the mayor, show up at the meeting, get your point across. That's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Herb.
Mike, I'm sorry I wasn't at the last meeting with the parking was discussed. But I looked at this, and I've been downtown with my business since 1959. And that's when 45 used to run through downtown Main Street. And you'd be surprised at that time, the streets were always full. The parking spots were always full. And we went through this, and at that time, the police department had the three-wheel motorcycle, and they would go through and chalk the tires. And it was like a 2-hour parking, I believe, at that time. And then the merchants complained at that time about the parking. And what can we do about parking? And there was a parking lot, a good-sized parking lot, where they held the farmers market, and it was also parking down across the river where the White House Milk Company used to be, and the railroad was very active at that time. And there was a municipal parking on that side of the river with the bridge, the old bridge still there, and they could park over there. People that were working in downtown could park across the river and walk across the bridge and go to their place of employment. Then after that, the street was remodeled, and first of all, then after that they put in parking meters, and the meters were put in, and it worked for a while, but then what was happening is the people that were working downtown would go outside every hour after and plug the meter. So this has been a problem, And then they got rid of the meters, and we remodeled the downtown again. And we went to Jimmy Began on the police department on his three-wheeled motorcycle going through town and marking the cars and chalking them, tires, and got rid of the meters. And then after that, we went, and there was times in between where there was nothing. Nothing was enforced. And of course, the businesses grew downtown, and of course, the employment grew downtown. And to get up to today, where we probably had maybe about 100 people downtown and 59 working at different places and establishments, we now have probably about 400, maybe 350 to 400, 500 employees downtown. And we kept selling off lots. The city kept selling off lots, and the parking got less and less. Now, with this ordinance that we're trying to pass, the city is trying to pass now, is probably good. But you solve one problem and you've created another problem. Where do all these people who work downtown go and park? Especially, I have in my business people that are, and right now especially, because it's hard to employ people. We have a lot of retired people that are 65, 70. I have one that's 75 years old that works for us. As a lady, a cashier, she works half-time. And I have another lady that takes over in the afternoon that works half-time. She's not quite as old, but she's old. And you expect these people to walk from 7th Avenue on down 8th Avenue, on down to go to their employee, especially in the winter time in the snow. Some of these people have a hard time working, being able to walk to work, just parking in the parking lot next to our store. So the city has not really done anything, and it's been talked about for years, of double-decking the 7th Avenue parking lot, which is ideal setup for it, and also double-decking the parking lot by our store, which would increase quite a few parking spots on 7th Avenue and a lot of them down on 5th Avenue. But there is no plan to do that. We have a plan to kick everybody out. If we can't hire employees downtown to come in and work, we're going to have to close our doors, maybe even move, or maybe even close up. This is a problem, and a serious problem, because when you look at it, and you had 100 employees probably in 1959 and 1960s and 70s downtown, and now you have 400, 350 people downtown to park that work downtown every day. We have to do something for our employees downtown, or a lot of places aren't going to have people to work, especially during these times now. You look at it, the older people are ones that we're asking them, retired people, to come back to work. And some of them are coming back to work, but they have to have conditions not only in their working place, but how do they get to their place if they can't walk? Do we start a bus to bus them from 8th Avenue, or a taxi to bus them from 8th Avenue down to the, we got to start planning on something for the future. There's got to be something in there so people will know that we're thinking about the people who work downtown also, not just the customers. We want the customers downtown. We need the customers. I can tell you this, we sacrifice our parking on Saturdays during the farmers market, and a lot of other merchants do also, because it's loaded there. And Saturday for us is one of the busiest days of the week for us, but we have worked around it, and we are working, try to help to keep customers coming into our store that are downtown at the farmers market. There are other events at night. You're not going to enforce the parking at night. Well, our store is open, and there's a few other stores that are open at night. And our place, the restaurants and everything, and they need their customers too, and I'm not complaining that we should shut these people off. They need the help, and their help parks in the parking places after 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and come in. And a lot of our business is after work for people to come downtown and come into our stores. And then those parking places are taken up. Why? Because those people have to have a place to park. I think before we enforce this ordinance, that we take a look and see what we can do to increase the parking downtown, especially for those who work. I know there's a lot of mom and pop stores that run their own stores. They'd probably only got one employee, and they need the business too. But we employ, sometimes during the day, we have 20, 25 people in our store working. And like I said before, a lot of them are older, retired people. And with these new stores opening up on the outskirts and looking for help, we're going to have a hard time replacing these people. So I'm asking you to postpone this ordinance, especially during this construction thing. If you realize if we start construction on that downtown and you have the customers parking on the other streets and other parking lots and everything full, Where are the employees going to park? A mile away? Let's put some thought into this, not only for the customers, but for the people that work downtown. I think they have been forgotten for a long time because nothing has been planned or done with the downtown for extra parking. There has been buildings that have been for sale. There was one across the street which would have made an ideal parking to help the parking downtown. It sold for $185,000. Somewhere's in that neighborhood. That was a place that the city should have picked up and thought about it. There has to be some thought. I asked the aldermen to start thinking of buying some places up. We talk about historic downtown. It's nice to have historic downtown, but if you don't have businesses downtown that can thrive, what's the sense of having a historic downtown? We've got to have parking, and I stress it again, not just for the customers, but for the people who work downtown. Let's think about them, and let's get something going to increase the parking downtown so we can all be satisfied and be happy. I need the customers just like every little mom and pop store does, but I need the help to run my store. And when you have 20 to 25 employees sometimes during the day, they have to have places to park, especially the older people. And you're chasing these people all the way up to 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue. They aren't going to walk that far to come to work. Not when they can go and work at one of the places at Walmart or wherever, Home Depot or you name it. The new places, the home store. They're going to go and work there. So I'm asking the councilman and this bid board to ask to relieve this ordinance at least until after the new Main Street is fixed up and we get increased parking for our customers. I don't think if you go downtown during the day right now, it's not that hard to find a parking place during the week. At certain times, yes. But certain times during the day, there is parking on any place you want to park. So let's think about this ordinance, and before we pass it, before this, we create a problem and maybe have stores closing or moving because they can't afford to stay downtown, they can't get help, and people won't come downtown to work. Let's give it some thought, and let's start looking for parking for everybody downtown. Thank you.
Thanks, Herb. Anybody else?
Yeah. Not to belabor this bid board's time, because I've certainly made my feelings known. Last meeting, Herb, it would have been great to hear your thoughts, because we ended up unanimously agreeing to the ordinance. So I think at this point, the thing to do is show up at the meeting and make your point then. I'll be there. I'm not going to go on and make my point. I respect your opinion, but I disagree with a lot of it. So I will be there. That's all I got to say today.
Anybody else?
Just a quick note. There was talk about construction over the last several meetings, and perhaps setting up some kind of a shuttle that would bring people from the parking lots during construction of Main Street and just have a continual loop. Has anything been done about that? Has that been researched, or is that still on the table, or is that something that we've given up on? Or
Can I jump in on that, Mike, if I may? A number of meetings ago, I think I proposed that we take our entire marketing budget, by the way, it's 20 grand, I think it is, and have a subcommittee, if you want to call it that, to come up with ideas. And I think I remember months ago, I even suggested the shuttle, and I am a little surprised that here we sit in December, construction potentially in April, and we don't have any ideas or solutions.
Well, if you wait for the next,
I was getting there. So
we're getting there.
right.
So,
It's just, we got to get it decided here pretty quick. So I'm anxious to hear that report.
yeah, that's the next thing on the agenda.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the parking ordinance? Again, I encourage people to show up, call their alderman, call the mayor. If you want to talk to them, 2 of them are here right now. Talk to the chief. Get your thoughts known so people know what's going on. I think that was the biggest message that was sent last night.
Is there a protocol for the aldermen that you do connect with? Do you go to the one that your district
all
where
of
you
them.
live in, or just go to all of
Any
them?
of them.
Okay.
They're all willing to talk to you, and, don't call them the night before 7 o'clock and expect to get a call back. Some of them will call you back. Some of them won't have time, obviously, because they have lives as well outside of this. So you've got 2 weeks to make it happen. So with that, let's move on to item 4, which is the marketing committee update. Jess,
Sure.
since
And-
I inadvertently missed the meeting.
And Peggy can provide an update as well. We did meet as a committee. We actually had 16 people take part in a really collaborative, positive conversation the first week of November. And we broke into smaller groups. This was hosted at Epic Creative, so thank you to Fuzz Martin for hosting our group for the first time. It's a large committee, so we broke into smaller groups to really talk through some concerns that we have at this point in advance of the construction, some ideas for solutions, and also just questions that people had. And then the group came back together, and I've worked to bring all of this, all of the content together into a report. But essentially, the concerns really fell into 4 categories: accessibility during construction, from parking for employees, visitors, residents, times when maybe shops or businesses are inaccessible, services to make people aware of accessibility options, riverwalk, streets, sidewalks, disability access, delivery trucks, garbage pickup. So accessibility was really a strong piece in that conversation. Communication was probably the next one. Communication to and from the city, to and from constituents, anyone who is impacted. So we're exploring options and ideas for making communication clear, easy, dual, and we're on it. Impact was the next. So just really, what kind of impact will there be if there's unexpected delays? What about staging of equipment, materials? Any impact outside of Main Street, like 6th Avenue? Impact on utilities and just timeline. So we are working with our engineering department, and we will be working directly with the contractor that bids on this project to first create this communication online, and we've talked about weekly updates or meetings, a space where you can, reach out to our team, get updates to learn more about all of these things. And then safety was the 4th sort of main topic of concern: public safety, safety to visitors, elderly, safety to property. So we talked through those at length. So from there, we went on to talking about more ideas and solutions, and that's where the shuttle conversation does come into play. It did come up. Talked more about it as a potential shuttle for employees, because there are certain times that are definitely higher volume for employees to be getting to the downtown in the morning, or maybe more in that afternoon time, where they could go to one of the public lots that are within the area. We have 252 public parking spaces available on Water Street and in the MOA lot. And so that's not a very far distance. So if people want to walk or are able to, they can do so. But maybe we do have something that's scheduled during that time to get people to and from, leaving parking available for customers then to easily access the shops and businesses that are downtown. So that is still a very active conversation. It was important to have this meeting so that we were able to really kind of get a broader perspective and talk to businesses of all different types. Alderman Allen was there as well, helping represent the district and residents. So we had a really good mix and turnout. I'm happy to put this report together and send it out to everybody. I'm still kind of working through it. It was a lot of content. We had whiteboards going and ideas. We've talked about different ways to collaborate. Marketing was a huge topic. Videos, brochures, campaigns, really promoting the downtown during that time. We also have an opportunity to maybe even maximize our marketing dollars further. We met with David Spiegelberg from the Department of Tourism, and we may be eligible to receive a GEM grant that's sizable that would help match our funds during that time. So instead of $20,000, we would have more like $40,000 to really do something special during this time. So I'll have more information about that as we continue on into January, but we're actively working on it and putting together these ideas and plans. Just a reminder, the timeline of the project is to go to bid in January. So really timeline for the project and things like that are going to come together more, they'll be more solidified after that time as well. So we're going to continue to meet. This group's going to come together again. Anyone is welcome to attend as well. So I don't know if I've missed anything, Peggy.
Well, it just comes down to we can't make decisions until we know whatever construction company is going to be bidding it out, how they're going to do it. Are they going to do the whole street? Are they going to do the sidewalks? Are they going to shut half down, then the other half? And then at that point, this group can collaborate and figure out the best possible way to do, to get employees and customers downtown.
Mm-hmm.
That answer your question? Kind of?
It wasn't really my question.
You're,
I was just anxious to hear what's going on. It sounds like it's fantastic.
yeah. No, the group did a great job.
Yeah.
And again, sorry I missed it. I totally vapor walked on the time, and I was sitting in my office 2 blocks away. So.
Is there a way to get some input from, when we were on the committee, those who are designing it, this isn't their first rodeo. Couldn't they have given us, or can they give us some input of some guidance on a timeline? Because you don't just shut the whole thing down for 6 months. Could they give us, you guys, something to work with?
It really comes down to the contractor and how the contractor wants to do it to meet the timelines that the city sets in the bid specs.
I get that, but I was looking for some
and
input.
know that also, because you've been in the meetings, that they are part of the speccing is to put in, access. If they tear up a sidewalk, they've got to put something down. They've got to give people access to the businesses and minimize the impact as much as possible, but know there's going to be impact. So I think once there's a contractor, then there can be these conversations of specifically
Understood.
how can we do this and minimize the impact on the business? And until that point, it's all speculation. Nobody knows for sure.
There are definitely some marketing and communications things we can do now in advance of that. And we're actively looking and researching. Maybe there's a microsite for the project that provides this interactive map for parking and that we're able to update all the time. We're actively getting quotes, going through demos, and trying to work through some of those options. Text alerts, we have a huge list of ideas that came up in that meeting that we are able to work on now and in advance of that. And as the timeline continues to get more specific, that will really help us during that time. This is a good reminder that on the homepage of the City of West Bend's website, there is a quick link to the 2023 Main Street Reconstruction webpage that we currently have up. It has the maps, it has information about the project, and it does have the proposed timeline that's available at this time. So the bidding of the project in January, an awarding of the contract in February, a proposed construction start date at the beginning of April, and then a proposed completion at the end of September. So if that helps provide a little bit of clarity.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, it's a construction that's going to be complex to be cost effective and within the time. And I think it falls under the impact category. But we also need to be thinking not just about parking and access, but water shutdowns, power shutdowns, internet shutdowns, and those kinds of things. And that would be a pretty essential piece of this communication plan as well.
So the water's possible. The electric on the east side has already been done, because that was done with the Riverwalk. So the east side for electric and internet has already, that impact has already been felt by those buildings. And my understanding in talking to the electric company, because they were in my building a couple weeks ago, their stuff feeds off of 6th Avenue for the west side. So, but you do have water utility coming down the middle of Main Street. So, yeah, there could be some potential with that as well, but I think that's going to be a minimal effect as opposed to people getting in. But you can throw that on the list to look at.
Utilities are on the list for sure. I agree. Thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 5.
Mark, do you want to update?
We had our first meeting for the new and improved facade grant program. We were very successful the last go around. We still have some projects that are in the process of being completed. There are some positive impacts that you can see on the back on the Riverwalk side. We've had some improvements that are noticeable there. We have more money to do this year. We have already announced the program and have it out there for people to make application. So we're hoping to, get money spendable sooner.
When's the deadline for application?
January 31st.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're going to try and, as we get some to review ahead of that, we'll attempt to be, instead of reviewing them on, February 1st, we may have already looked at some. So I would encourage people that are interested in participating in the program to make application. We'd like to, get some dollars out there.
Okay. Any questions on the facade grant? Next one is just to review the meeting dates for 2023.
Yeah, I just included it in the packet so that you had them, and anyone else would have them as well. We'll have them on the website too.
And then just to remind everybody, January 3rd is the annual organizational meeting for the bid board, which is when we elect the officers and move into 2023. So if there's nothing else, wish everybody a very happy holiday, and come downtown and shop.
Yeah.
Spend your money. Shop local and shop often. How's that? Anything else? Otherwise, we'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.